What's up guys, it's Tommy here and welcome to my Champions League review video. We will talk about the Tottenham Bayern Munich historic incredible game. Bayern scored 7 goals away from home against Tottenham. After Tottenham were actually the better team for the first like 25-30 minutes. What did you think of the game, and also what is going on at Tottenham? Since like February or March, they have only won like a handful of games, and they are in a really wretched run of form, especially in the Premier League, but in the Champions League also. This season they only scored, got 1 point, and that was away to Olympiacos. Actually, in terms of chances, Bayern were just clinical. They didn't dominate Tottenham as much as the scoreline suggests, but they scored pretty much almost every big chance, every clear chance that they had. And I think the story of the game is Serge Gnabry, who Arsenal let go for a very little transfer fee, and he comes back to North London and scores 4 goals in the second half against Tottenham. Absolutely incredible. And also Serge Gnabry after that tweeted North London is red. I mean, the cheek to do that is just incredible. Lewandowski, in my opinion, is just the most informed striker in the world right now. I don't count Messi or Ronaldo as strikers. And Heung-min Son scored a brilliant goal actually to give Tottenham the lead, but Bayern equalized straight away through Joshua Kimmich. And still in the first 30 minutes, I keep saying this, but it's true, Tottenham were actually the better team. They had the more chances. Even Lewandowski in his post-match interview admitted that Bayern didn't play well for the first 30 minutes. What a weird game. I mean, if you just look at the scoreline and read Tottenham 2, Bayern Munich 7. I mean, it's just, I still can't wrap my head around it. Tottenham never conceded 7 goals at home in their entire history. That's how bad this defeat was. And that flick by Lewandowski before the second goal, the second Bayern goal, sorry, is absolutely incredible. I mean, I think it's Serge Gnabry who falls over, and the referee doesn't give a penalty, and then the ball falls to Lewandowski, who has his back to the Tottenham goal, but he turns instantly, and then he smashes it into the bottom corner just before halftime to make it 2-1 Bayern. And I think that was the killer goal, because Tottenham's confidence was really shot at that moment. And I just want to tell you guys how few games Tottenham actually won this season. I want to tell you that I think they only won like 2 or 3 games, all in the Premier League, and they lost at the first hurdle in the League Cup. They haven't won in the Champions League yet this season. I mean, for a Champions League finalist to get embarrassed like this at home in a new stadium is just outrageous. It's remarkable. What a turnaround. I mean, Tottenham somehow reached the Champions League final. They somehow knocked out Man City and Ajax. Though both those ties were very close, but you can't deny it. Tottenham are a good team, but they are in a really bad run of form, and I think the uncertainty in the summer with many key players wanting to leave Tottenham, Christian Eriksen publicly telling the club that he wants to leave and try out new things after the Champions League final. And of course Eriksen stayed at Tottenham, he didn't leave, but that uncertainty I think really disrupted Tottenham's confidence. But they can't use that as an excuse for this performance, because they kept giving the ball away time and time again in their own half against a world-class team like Bayern Munich. You can't actually do that. It's just incredible. If I was a Tottenham fan, I would be very worried that this season will fall apart for Tottenham, because I think at this rate Tottenham won't finish in the Champions League. I mean, they are just averaging a little over 1 point in the Premier League since like February or March. So this is not a few games of bad run. This is actually going on since like March. I mean, since March, Tottenham lost to Southampton, they lost to they lost to West Ham, they lost to Bournemouth, and also this season they lost to Newcastle, Leicester, Colchester. Those results are not great, is it, for a club like Tottenham? And also, the only games that Tottenham won this season, they have beaten Aston Villa, Crystal Palace and Southampton. That's it. That's it. And we are in October. And Tottenham have won 3 games all season. And all of them at home. Away from home, Tottenham haven't won a game, which is remarkable this season. And also, last season, I mean, Tottenham won in Ajax, but apart from that, they haven't won away from home since March. So since March the 5th, where they won in Dortmund, they haven't won away from home apart from Ajax in the Champions League, and that is just an incredible. I mean, they won in pre-season, but I don't count that. So Tottenham have 1 win since March away from home. That tells its own story. The way that Bayern Munich just dismantled them in the second half. I mean, Serge Gnabry, with his pace, he destroyed the Tottenham backline, especially Serge Aurier, who got 2 stupid yellow cards and got sent off on the weekend. He again got completely outplayed, outpaced, outclassed by Serge Gnabry. He was by far Tottenham's worst player, in my opinion, Serge Aurier. And Tottenham have a problem, I think, in that area, because they sold Kieran Trippier, who I think was their best right back. They sold him to Atletico Madrid. They have young Walker Peters, who is, of course, still a developing player at right back. And then they have Serge Aurier, who is great going forward, but he's very suspect at the back. He reminds me of Alberto Moreno in that he's great attacking fullback, but not great defensively. And both goals by Lewandowski was world class. I mean, but I watch the highlights on my other monitor here, and the way that Tottenham have given the ball away in the second half, time and time again, is just unacceptable. At this level, against a world class team like Bayern Munich, you can't do that. It's just infuriating. Every single Bayern goal after Harry Kane scored the consolation to make it 4-2, every single Bayern goal came after Tottenham gifted possession back to Bayern Munich in their own half. And what a turnaround for Serge Gnabry, who was loaned out to West Bromwich Albion when he was an Arsenal player. And Tony Pulis, yes, Tony Pulis, who was the West Brom manager at the time, said that Serge Gnabry is not ready for the Premier League. And he played a whopping 12 minutes of Premier League football under Tony Pulis at West Brom. And also at Arsenal, he very rarely played. He only played like 20 league games or something like that. He was shipped out to Werder Bremen, and then he had a great season there. Bayern Munich bought him from Werder Bremen, and even at the time I was saying, like, how could Arsenal let go a young player who is good enough for Bayern Munich just 1 year after leaving Arsenal, but he was not good enough for Arsenal, an Arsenal team who was in a steep decline under Arsene Wenger. It's just incredible. And Serge Gnabry proved everybody wrong at Arsenal. That was potentially their biggest mistake, and they made a lot of big mistakes in the transfer market, but that was potentially one of their biggest mistakes, because Serge Gnabry, right now, he's easily worth £50 million. If Arsenal wanted to buy Serge Gnabry or another player as good as Serge Gnabry, they would have to pay probably £50 million or even more for him. I mean, he is brilliant. He scored 10 goals for Bayern Munich last season in the Bundesliga only, and he already has 1 goal in the Bundesliga. He has 4 goals in the Champions League, 5 goals for Germany in 5 games in European qualifying. So he scored 10 goals already this season, and we just began October. So he was on loan at Werder Bremen, and then he was on loan from Bayern Munich to Hoffenheim, where again he had a great season. He scored 10 goals in just 22 games for Hoffenheim before tearing it up with Bayern Munich, and he is now in red hot form. Serge Gnabry, and I have to say that Mauricio Pochettino has some serious problems at Tottenham. It looks like the dressing room is falling apart, and I think this will be a huge job, potentially the biggest job of Pochettino's career. Can he rebuild this Tottenham side from here? Because if the Tottenham finish outside of the top 4, and that is entirely possible, because Leicester City, Arsenal, and other teams Chelsea are well capable of finishing ahead of Tottenham. I mean, Tottenham are in mid-table form since February, since the beginning of March. I mean, they haven't won a Premier League game away from home since March, which is incredibly bad. And I think Tottenham will qualify to the knockout stages in the Champions League because they have Red Star Belgrade and Olympiacos in their group. So usually Tottenham will hope that they will beat those teams, but Bayern Munich just showed that this Tottenham team have a lot of weaknesses in defense, and also Mauricio Pochettino has to do something with the dressing room, because if they finish outside of the top 4 and the big stars will start leaving Tottenham, then they are done, because they won't be able to attract the players who are good enough to replace Harry Kane and Dele Alli. Remember that Harry Kane and Dele Alli are, absolute bargains. They signed them as very young players. Harry Kane is, I think, Tottenham youth player who came through the ranks, and I think that they will struggle massively to replace those kind of players, with the stadium still being paid off, and also Tottenham probably won't pay the wages required to sign players who are good enough to replace Harry Kane, Eriksen, Dele Alli. I mean, I don't think Harry Kane will leave, but I can see Eriksen leaving next summer. His contract will be up. I can see maybe Dele Alli or other key players leaving Tottenham. So it's a very, very difficult situation for Pochettino, and this is where a top manager earns his money, when it's a crisis, and now it's a full-blown crisis at Tottenham. Can he turn this around? Can he turn this season around? They have to improve dramatically away from home, and also they have to sort out their defense. There are a lot of issues at Tottenham. Let me know what you think in the comments below, and thanks for watching, guys. Hope you enjoyed this. See you later. Goodbye.